All right. So, when graphed, why does the function have a slant asymptote instead of a horizontal? The degree of the denominator is one more than the degree of the numerator. This is what, if you're looking, you look at that, you look at what you wrote, and you make that decision. I'm telling you, when I create my answer key for the quiz, that's what my answer is going to look like. The degree of the denominator, the degree of the numerator, or this should be one less. Sorry. The degree of the denominator is one less than the degree of the numerator. Or you can put the degree of the numerator is one more than the degree of the denominator. Okay? Either one. Seem good? All good? That's exactly what the answer looks like tomorrow. There's no change. So part A tomorrow looks just like that. When graphed, why does the function have a slant asymptote instead of a horizontal? Everybody good? All right. Part B, what is the equation of the slant asymptote? We take the denominator, which is x squared plus x minus 12. Yep, and we divide it right into the numerator, which is x cubed plus 4x squared minus 25x minus 100. Okay, you look at your first term outside, which is x squared, first term inside, which is x cubed, and you divide the inside one by the outside one. What's x cubed divided by x squared? X. Does everybody get that? And I'm going to put it right above the x. So I keep, when you did division, hopefully in the past, you kept it right above. Now I'm going to multiply everything in my numerator by x. So x times x squared gives me x cubed. X times x is x squared. X times negative 12 is negative 12x. Does that make sense to everybody? Let me see where those come from. I just take the x up here and multiply by everything. Now, in synthetic division, we automatically go to the opposite of the number. In regular division, we don't, so there's one small thing we've got to do in a second.
So, with this and the aspects and stuff like that, are we going to have anything with this tomorrow? Just like not with the graph?
It's going to literally be just like this one with this function thing. And it's going to have these 6 questions and then a 7th question. That'll be a mystery question worth 2 points. So yeah, it'll be just like this. So if you understand this process, you can do this question tomorrow. It's literally the same exact thing. Alright, everybody good with that? So because it's long and not synthetic division, we then switch all of our signs. What's the x cubed minus the x cubed going to do to each other? Cancel out. 4x squared minus x squared is 3x squared. Negative 25 plus 12 is negative 13x minus 100. You then repeat the process. You divide the term inside by the term outside. What's 3x squared divided by x squared? What are the x squareds going to do to each other? Leaving you with what? That's all you need. Positive 3. So you just write plus 3. And you're done. That's the equation of your slant asymptote. You're showing me you know how to get the equation of a slant asymptote without putting it on the quiz and going through all that. You don't have to hit what? This is it. This is the only thing slant asymptotes to be on. So the 2 problems you have tomorrow will be just like the 2 you had in the quiz.
Only 2 questions on the quiz.
It's 2 questions, 2 graphs, and then this back page. So the quiz is going to have like those 2, like you had in the review, and then this is going to be on the back.
Yeah.
Okay? Holes in vertical asymptotes are considered points of discontinuity. What are the x values of the points of discontinuity? For that, we go back to our original function. And points of discontinuity have nothing to do with the numerator, so we focus on the what? Denominator. We're going to factor the denominator. What two numbers go into negative 12 add up to 1? 4 and negative 3. So that factors in x plus 4, x minus 3. What's the opposite of positive 4? Negative 4. What's the opposite of negative 3? Negative 4, positive 3. Negative 4, positive 3. So the points of discontinuity question simply comes from setting it equal to 0 and solving. That's it. Good? Now, what are the coordinates of the hole? What are the coordinates of the vertical asymptote? Okay? When it's a vertical asymptote, it doesn't cancel. When it's a hole from what we did yesterday, it does cancel. Is there anybody who needs to know what that means? Or do you follow it from yesterday? When it does cancel, that means that either the plus 4 or the negative 3 was in both the numerator and the denominator. That makes it a hole. For that, and this is what certain individuals on the left-hand side of the room were dreading, now you have to figure out and factor the numerator. Now, to factor the numerator, okay, it's not a binomial, so you can use synthetic division, but here's what's going to save you a lot of time. For it to cancel, it has to appear in both the what? Numerator and denominator. For that to occur, it's either got to be what? Negative 4 or 3. Does that make sense? So for it to cancel, it's got to be one of those. Plug those in to your original expression. Now, here's where your knowledge comes in. We went through P's and Q's. For it to be a factor, what number does it have to go into? 100. Which one of these two numbers goes into 100? 4. So do you understand how you're using your knowledge from previous to make your life a whole boatload easier? So if you know that, if you remember that for tomorrow, you're like, hey, I know it's got to be a factor of that, so I got negative 4. Because if I plug in negative 4 here, I get negative 64. Negative 4 squared is positive 16 times 4 is 64. Negative 64 plus 64 is 0. Negative times a negative and positive makes that 100. 100 minus 100 is 0. So it confirms that negative 4 is your root. That makes sense? So now I'm going to do my synthetic division, but I don't have to figure it out and do all that guesswork because I know my root is what? Negative 4. 1, 4, negative 25, negative 100. Does everybody follow where those numbers come from? Your coefficients and your constants. What number do I bring down automatically? 1. Now remember, your degree always goes down once. So if we started at x cubed, what's this going to be? X squared. 0, negative 25 means the result is x squared minus 25 is equal to 0. Does everybody get where that comes from? In case it's not a difference of 2 squares. You're just doing synthetic division.
Is it back there now?
You can if you want, or you can just use square roots. Alright? So in other words, if you factor this to be x plus 5, x minus 5, what's the opposite of positive 5? Negative 5. What's the opposite of negative 5? Positive 5.
No matter which one, wait, I thought it was like, you have to like list out negative 5 comma 5 and coordinates. It's just whole numbers.
What do you mean?
I don't really know, I mean. That's
I'll come back to it.
-5 and 5 as coordinates at the end. Yeah, so you have to
Well, here's the thing. So you have your answers are -5 and 5, along with -4. So those are your three roots.
okay.
All right, -4, -5, and 5. So that means -4 is my whole. What does that leave to be a vertical asymptote? 3. Make sense?
So, like, because -4 is your whole, like, if you just wrote down the x plus 5, x minus 5, and showed your work using that 4 as a whole,
Nope.
count that as the answer.
Nope. Because again, you're using predetermined knowledge to get through the work. You're realizing, like I said, if you know the -4 goes into the -100, and 3 doesn't, boom, you're showing knowledge, and that's good enough for me. All right. Now, the equation of a vertical asymptote is x equals 3. Everybody good with that? The equation of a vertical asymptote is x equals 3. To get the coordinates of the whole, what do we have to do? We have to plug it back in. Now, here's the problem. You can't plug it in here. Because if you plug it in there, what are you going to get for your denominator? 0. So what you have to do for that, is write your factored form, which is x plus 4, x minus 5.
Wait, how do you know that the thing is straight?
Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me just write this down. Over x plus 4, x minus 3. What's up, Gap?
Where did the -4 and the 3 come from?
The -4 and the 3?
Yeah. Is that from up top? It's
I factored this,
yeah.
and whatever makes the denominator 0 is a point of discontinuity.
Okay.
So if you go back at what you looked at, what you did for homework for the review,
Yeah.
like when you did this one, x squared minus 9 factored into x minus 3, x plus 3. Both of those are points of discontinuity.
So that's what your equation of vertical asymptote.
That's where the -4 and 3 come from. Alright? Now, what did the x plus 4s do to each other? Cancel out. Leaving us with x minus 5, x plus 5 over x minus 3. That's what you have to plug the -4 into. That's what you have to plug the -4 into. What's -4 minus 5? -9. What's -4 plus 5? Positive 1. -4 minus 3? -7. So the coordinates of my whole are -4 9/7. Okay? I just want to finish up and then we'll walk through the whole thing. If the denominator started with x cubed instead of x squared, what would be the equation of the horizontal asymptote? So now you're replacing the x squared with the x cubed. Now are their degrees exactly the same? Yes, so to get the horizontal asymptote, you would divide coefficients. What's 1 divided by 1? 1. So y equals 1. So here's what I want you to take a look at in preparation for tomorrow. I'm not diminishing anybody's ability at all when I say this. Okay? Is A should be in everybody's wheelhouse, right? You have straight memorization. F, straight memorization, right? You understand how I'm differentiating here? A and F are just memorizations. B is a process in which you divide. So all you're doing is dividing. C, all you're doing is factoring your denominator. That gives you 2 values. D and E come from those. This may be where things get tricky for everybody. But you should be able to just factor a denominator, and then if you're quick enough, realize, pick the one that goes into your original constant in your original. That's your whole. The other one is your asymptote. Your equation of your asymptote is just x equals that. So there, see how there's no, that's what I'm saying. There's no work here. There's no work here. And there's no work for A. So those things, if you memorize correctly, should be fine. Does that make sense? What's that, Mike? you're doing two different things. You're getting the points in SID. You're figuring out which one is the hole and which one's the vertical asymptote. The one that's a hole, you're plugging back in. The one that's an asymptote, you're just writing x equals. Because that you can't plug back in because that's going to be the zero parameter. Good? That, ladies and gentlemen, is everything. There's one more question. That's 2 points. So each one of those is 2 points.